Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ashlyn, and I'll be facilitating today's FCAD Empowering the Next Generation session as a part of Ryerson's Open House, which is taking place this week from September 21st to the 25th. There are many sessions taking place all week long, and we encourage you to visit our website and register for as many that are of interest to you. To start, Ryerson has shifted to an essential services model to help prevent the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have put together a series of virtual sessions in order to share information and connect with all of you. Ryerson is working diligently to provide its students with fulsome experiences while maintaining the health and safety of our community. Before we get started, I just want to share a few housekeeping Zoom tips. We encourage you to ask questions. We have many faculty and staff members on hand to answer all of your Q&A. So to do so, please click on the Q&A pod at the bottom of your Zoom window. Once you click on that pod, a dialog window will appear and you can type out your question. You can do that throughout this presentation. If you're having any audio or video issues, feel free to flag it for us by letting us know again through that Q&A pod. And one of our staff members will be there to assist you. If you're having any audio or video issues, feel free to flag it in the Q&A pod like I just mentioned. You can feel free to also rearrange your screen which way you'd like. So it won't affect the way we see the screen, it won't affect the way others will see the screen, so please make sure the screen is the easiest way of viewing for yourself. This presentation will have closed captionings to ensure accessibility. If you require closed captioning, please select the option at the bottom of your screen and it will appear for you. Please also note that this session is being recorded and will be available on our website later in October. We'd like to know who's joining us. So I'm going to launch a poll right now. And feel free to answer. We always like to know who's speaking with us. We want to know who you are in order to cater this presentation as best as possible to you. We have lots of people coming in from all different parts I can see. I'm going to end this poll and show everyone. There we go. Awesome. All right, I'm actually going to read the land acknowledgement because this is something that's very important to us here at Ryerson University. So I'm just going to ask, there we go, that the slide be shifted. Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. I'd now like to hand this presentation over to Jackie, who is going to lead us for the rest of this presentation. Jackie, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much, Ashlyn. Thank you so much for the introduction and the housekeeping tips. Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie. I am a marketing manager in the Faculty of Communication and Design, or FCAD, at Ryerson. I'm very excited to be here with you today. We have a number of people joining us today. As Ashlyn mentioned before, we actually have a number of staff and faculty members in the back end answering any of your Q&A support. Today, what we want to do is actually introduce you to FCAD, which is Ryerson's home of creativity. We are one of 7 faculties here at Ryerson, and we have 9 different schools in the fields of media, communication, and design, with 15 different undergraduate programs, all unique, extremely creative, to suit any kinds of interests that you're into. We also have a very special program lined up for you today. I have 7 students here with us. Before we actually enter into the panel and introduce the panel, we just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to FCAD. So as I mentioned before, we are one of 7 faculties here in FCAD. We've been around for quite some time now, so we're entering our 8th decade. We are a global center of media and creative invention, and we also like to pride ourselves as innovative educators, and we like to disrupt education. FCAD is dedicated to developing creators with authentic voices who engage directly with the creative industries, not only in Toronto, but globally as well. We have 26 undergraduate and graduate programs combined, 15 of which are undergraduate. And all of them are actually shaping the fields, their respective fields, whether that be in design, in communication, in media, and so forth. And if you haven't been following some of the news, A lot of our alumni have been blazing the industry as well during the times of COVID, but also throughout the year. We actually have a lot of tight-knit partnerships, both with universities around the world, but also the industry as well. So everything from Cirque du Soleil to Google. We also have academic partners in Germany, for example, and so forth. And today you get to hear a little bit about some of the experiences that our students, FCAD students, actually get to take part in. We offer more opportunities to educate the next generation of creative leaders than anywhere else. And I say this not only because it's being displayed on the screen, but it's something that we truly believe in. And that's why we've actually curated this panel discussion for you today, so that you can see how we're connected to the fields that we're in. We are actively engaging global industries and with partners all around the world. And so you can either go on exchange or stay in the heart of downtown Toronto and still have an international and global perspective. We're disruptive, so we're not afraid to invest in new ideas, because we think failure is a part of the innovation process, and we're always challenging the status quo in these industries. We're also very innovative, so solving problems and thinking about new ways of doing things, not just in the creative fields, but also as educators. So we actually have some faculty members on the back end to answer some of your questions. So for those of you who joined us a little bit early, you saw a video of one of the dancers doing a duet with a KUKA robot, which is housed in our creative technology lab. If that was not exciting enough for you, hopefully the next video, which is our introduction video, will get you a little bit more excited about FCAD.
In a world where the future is creative, there is one place that defines, disrupts, and empowers creativity. For 70 years, Ryerson's FCAD, in the heart of downtown Toronto, has been shaping the next generation of creators with authentic and innovative voices to become market-ready and seamlessly engage directly with creative industries around the world in life-changing and game-changing careers. "23-degree programs, visionary educators, hands-on masterclasses with icons, and global industry relationships that offer real-time innovation. FCAD produces in-demand and industry-ready graduates. FCAD is a place where everything you thought was creative is reimagined every day. FCAD, Ryerson University, the future of creativity.
All right, so I hope that video was exciting for everyone. So as I mentioned before, FCAD has 15 different undergraduate programs. We're not going to get a chance to actually go through each and every single program today. What we are going to be focusing on today is specifically student experiences, where you get to understand the different opportunities and resources available to you as an FCAD student. If you have any admissions related questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A. Ashlyn also mentioned we have a number of Ryerson at home webinars and info sessions. We also have that lined up for you next week. So visit online. There's going to be a slide at the very end. Just visit us online and sign up for those sessions. The first one will be graphic communications management on Monday. We're super excited to see you there. And that's where you'll get to meet a lot of the faculty members. So for today, without further ado, I do want to introduce our student panelists. So if I call your name, please turn on your camera and say hello. The first one is Amy.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy and I'm in 4th year of interior design here at Ryerson. And some interesting things about me, outside of schoolwork, I enjoy longboarding and drawing.
Excellent. Samantha.
Hi, my name is Samantha. I'm in my fourth year of photography. And outside of school, I also play on Ryerson's fast pitch team. We're not playing a season this year, but that's something that I like to do outside of school.
Great. Sabrina?
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm a third year in interior design, and I currently work pretty extensively in the creative technology lab, which is the lab that you saw the robot in. Yeah.
And also the lab that you're currently in right now.
Yeah. So you can see all this equipment behind me, but yes.
Excellent. Katie?
Hi there, my name is Katie. I am a fourth year professional communications student, otherwise known as ProCom, as we like to call it, and I am currently the president of the Professional Communication Course Union.
Excellent. Patrick?
Hello, my name is Patrick. I use they, them pronouns. I'm in my fourth year in the School of Performance, Production and Design. And a fun fact about me, I live in Toronto now, and I was born in Toronto, but for 18 years I lived in New Brunswick between then.
Excellent. Vilana?
Hi everybody, my name is Vilana. I'm from the graduating class of 2020 in the School of Creative Industries, and outside of school I enjoy cosplaying.
Excellent. Geneva?
Hello, I'm Geneva Hines. I'm a second year media production student. Something interesting about me is throughout the summer, my friend and I made a documentary on student perspectives on COVID-19.
And if you're interested, just send us a Q&A or send us a question through the Q&A and we'll send you the link.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get started with the student panel. And I have a number of questions curated just for you. So number one, maybe everyone can chime in if we have time. When you began your first year here at FCAD, how did you know this was the right place to develop your creative skills? So just going in order, Amy?
Sure. Well, when I first kind of started to consider Ryerson, I first stepped into the interior design building and I saw what used to be called the Fab Lab, but now it's part of the CTL, with all the 3D printers and laser cutters. And I think from high school, I always imagined them as kind of like these mythical kind of machines that were like rapid prototyping, but I knew like if I were to come, I would have access as a student. And so I think another reason I chose to be in the FCAD community, I think, was also I came from a math and science background in high school. And so I didn't really want to limit myself because I was still kind of exploring. So I knew FCAD, because there's so many different schools, I would be able to get a bit of a sense of all the different kinds of design.
Excellent. Does anybody want to add on to that? How did you know FCAD was the right place to develop your creative skills?
I have an answer right off the top. In our orientation, within I think the first 10 minutes of our School of Performance orientation, our chair, Caroline O'Brien, she instructed us essentially to step out of bounds and to really take the time now to step away from the herd and find yourself and your creative path that belongs to you and figure out where you're gonna go and not necessarily just following the herd or whatever, and really figuring out what your creativity means to you, and then consistently offering resources to support our own independent projects. So right from the get-go, I knew this was a place where we could shine as individuals, as creative individuals, rather than just in a larger group.
That sounds very much like the opening slide that I had in terms of, you know, FCAD is where you go to develop your authentic voice. I am not kidding everyone. I did not feed that to Patrick. That came directly from them. Anybody else? What do you think was the coolest part about FCAD when you were a first year student?
Sure, I'd like to comment on that, Jackie. Another orientation story for you. When I went to the orientation for professional communication, our chair, John Shiga, stood up and he gave us the typical speech of, look to the person on your left, look to the person on your right. But then he stopped and said, this is your community. These are your peers. These are the people that are going to support you on your journey. You're going to support them, because when one of us succeeds, our whole community succeeds. And that's something that I really, really love about FCAD, is that everyone is carving out their own path. Everyone steps into their respective program wanting something else, and it doesn't necessarily resemble anything like the person on your left, and that's okay, because it doesn't have that sort of competitive dog eat dog sort of an aura around it. It's very much a community effort, and again, making that push forward into the creative future.
Yeah, we also really like to say, you know, FCAD is this vibrant and thriving community of creators and innovators and scholars and thinkers, you know, and based on what you're saying, Katie, it sounds like, you know, you got that from day one, year one. Anybody else? What was the coolest part about FCAD, do you think? Geneva?
Yeah, going off of what Katie said, I think just all of the opportunities to meet people in the workforce already, but also just meeting your peers. I've met so many people who are just so amazing, and you see the projects that they've been working on within FCAD, and just going off of the events that I was able to attend last year, being able to meet other people who I could later on collaborate with within the program, which is really, really cool. And you really see how hardworking everybody is. I feel like this is a program where you want to be here. Like, it's not kind of like, I want to graduate, I want to get out of here. It's like, I actually want to stay for another 2 years. Like, I want to be here for 6 years. Like, you actually want to be in the environment that you're set up in.
We actually have graduate programs, Geneva, so.
I can speak to an experience that is not so related to a first year experience. As a mature student, I think I wasn't sure what I wanted to go back to school with, but I knew that I was ready to kind of change my career from where I started. So my first year at Ryerson, I was not in FCAD, but after my first year within FCAD and interior design, I knew very quickly that the opportunities I was going to have via this community were going to be unparalleled to something that I was going to have at a different school. I think as an FCAD like activist, like member now, I would say I'm grateful for just the people that I meet and the opportunities that I have to collaborate, that I don't think you'll find at another university that may offer the same program, simply because we are so connected through a wide variety of design. And yeah, that's like kind of an incredible experience that you get to have firsthand when you're here. Like, maybe you don't love your program first year, but you love something else in design. There's always opportunities for you to kind of explore that.
Yeah, and that's definitely a part of, you know, the creative ecosystem that's a part of FCAD. Yes, there are 9 different schools, and yes, you are going to develop community with, you know, your cohort and especially in your program. But FCAD as a faculty has so many different spaces, like the CTL or Creative Technology Lab. We also have the Creative Innovation Studio, which Vilana, you were a part of, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I was part of the Creative Innovation Studio back in 3rd year when I was in the Global Campus Studio course.
Excellent, and we'll get to that a little bit later. There is a question for you specifically about GCS or Global Campus Studio, but for the rest of us here, what about, can you talk a little bit about the connections that you've made throughout your time at FCAD? What opportunities did you take to connect with the industry and the creative community?
Absolutely. So Ryerson was actually my second shot at university. I first came from Sheridan for music theater. However, what makes FCAD so different is all of the people that you get to meet, because there are so many different programs and everybody's studying many different disciplines. There's no limit to how much knowledge you can gain. And because you're meeting so many people every single day, you're always learning something new and you're making new connections. So now that I've graduated, all of the people that I met at Ryerson, I still keep in contact with them. And even now, we're still learning something new, because outside of school, there's always something new to learn as well.
Yeah, and Geneva, you had the opportunity to actually create a media piece, right? An actual production during, you know, our work from home, stay at home kind of orders, correct?
Yes, exactly.
All right, does anybody else have any kind of insights in terms of the connections that you've made here at FCAD and Ryerson?
I can speak to that quickly. I think through the Creative Technology Lab, we've had, you don't work with just your discipline. It's definitely a bank of resources from all the faculties that you have to draw from. And like one prime example of this is when we first got the robots installed in the basement, we worked with Cirque du Soleil, and they just wanted to hear kind of like your wildest ambitions for like what circus and robot could look like. So we had a panel of students from different faculties or different programs within FCAD, and we all just sat around and ate pizza one night and like brainstormed, and it was kind of amazing to hear other people's perspectives and how those inform the kind of brainstorming that they think about versus like from interior design perspective or whatever else. But it's also amazing to be able to work with something like Cirque du Soleil, which as a creative individual, you're like, how would you ever go to work for a company like that? But then to have the opportunity to meet someone who directs their shows, it makes all of the amazing companies that you see in the world doing incredibly innovative things almost tangible. Like the idea of working for them becomes like a reality to you. Like it's possible that you can get there. So that's like, yeah, I think that's a really good one.
Excellent. So I know Katie and Samantha, you wanted to chime in, but before we do, Sabrina and Amy, do you want to do a quick introduction in terms of what is the Creative Technology Lab? I heard robots, and I'm sure everybody is a little curious about what kind of robots, what's going on.
Amy, do you want to speak to your like ceramics work and then just what else you've done in the Creative Technology Lab, and then I'll jump in?
Sure. Yeah, so my involvement with the CTL is through my work as a research assistant on several things. And one thing I want to note is that like I think the CTL is as a student is not as open, but it's all project based. So if you have a project that you want to bring or you want to come to see to fruition, is the CTL is where you want to bring it. And so yeah, all of my relationship with the CTL has been through projects as a research assistant. And so yeah, as Sabrina mentioned, there's been I've been working on a project with one of my professors that has to do with kind of ceramics and 3D printing and kind of heritage preservation. And so Jackie mentioned disruptive. And so we're kind of, one thing I think that makes the CTL so interesting is that all the machines are really there to serve the purposes of your project. And one thing I learned was that actually in any other setting, these machines are all like production rated, like we're running 24/7. Like your design really has to fit into that pre-established production setting. But here at FCAD and in the CTL, you kind of get to imagine how you want to design your project and then figure out your own way and new ways of having the machinery and the technology work for your project. So yeah, that's been really cool.
Yeah, just to add on to what Amy was saying, my experience started in the CTL actually this past summer more in-depthly. I got the opportunity to work under also one of the professors within the School of Interior Design doing a design-related job where it was design build. So we worked over the course of the summer from the front end of the design project where you get to actually like go into a space, take measurements, all the interior design things that people know. But then on the back end, usually you do a lot of, you send a lot of your commissioned work out to workshops and then they build things for you. But I actually had the opportunity to build a lot of furniture and cabinetry this summer, which is something that I don't think I would have. And it's actually a very difficult kind of like niche industry within interior design to get into. So all the way from things like working with robots to very classic kinds of design, like working in a workshop with like woodworking tools. It really is a space that's designed to support whatever your creative process is. And I think that there's something really incredible about a lot of the people that work down here who are our mentors. They push for like thinking through making. They really want you to get your hands dirty and post-rationalize why you decided to do something instead of like feel like you're constrained by deciding, okay, you have to like follow this set of rules, but rather like go crazy, like experiment, like see what could be. And that really fuels a lot of what happens down here. So like, yeah, the possibilities are endless. If you can think of a piece of machinery that you've heard of, we probably have it or have access to a different space that has it. So.
Excellent. And I know that the Creative Technology Lab is not just, you know, a facility for interior design students. I know that there's a number of journalism projects in there using the robot. I know graphic communications management has a project down there as well. And of course, the different types of technology include 3D printing, like Sabrina said, woodwork, and so forth. So there's a lot. Going back to the idea of connections, Katie and Samantha, do you want to offer some of your stories in terms of what kind of connections you've made?
Yeah, for sure. I can go ahead. So I think the amazing thing about Image Arts is that all of your professors and the people that work there are so immersed in the industry. It's not like you're being taught by people that their career, the height of their career was like 40, 50 years ago, and they're talking from that point. They're talking about like them being working artists and just being inspired by the things that they're doing right now. And also I think the breadth of specialties that they cover is great as well. Like me being in my 4th year, you have to choose a thesis advisor to work with you and give you feedback on your work, and having the breadth of specialties available to you allows you to work with somebody who works closely and will be able to give that kind of expertise that you're talking about. Also talking about the Creative Technology Lab, that was interesting because last year I was doing a project where I was making Viewmaster reels, and I got to use the laser cutter over there, which was really interesting because I was like, I have this idea, but I have no idea how to execute it. And somebody's like, oh, you can go over to the interior design building and get them to cut it out for you, which was an amazing opportunity because it's like, if we don't have it in our specific school, there's probably somewhere else in FCAD that you can get them to help you with, which was really a great opportunity.
Great. Katie?
For sure. So following my 3rd year of professional communication, I did an internship placement at an immigration law firm in North York. So it was an incredible experience because I really got to get hands-on experience with working with different clients, with working with lawyers, to people that might have a language barrier and are new to Canadian context. So that experience was really just a great culmination of all of the skills that I've picked up through my experience in FCAD. I am a very eclectic individual in terms of my personal and professional interests. I love crafts, I love theater, but I am actually in the process of applying to law school, and I want to proceed and be a lawyer in the future. So FCAD has really given me all of the tools to embrace my existence as a creative in entering into a field that conventionally isn't viewed with that kind of a lens. So being able to still have that creative element compacted into my career moving forward as a professional, I feel like the tool set that FCAD has provided for me in combination with this internship experience, which has now given me wonderful connections within the Toronto legal context, I couldn't ask for anything more valuable than that moving forward.
Great, and that actually brings me to the next question, which is based on experience. So we heard a lot about experiences where you get to take classroom learning and go to places like the Creative Technology Lab and actually think through do. And Katie just mentioned a lot about her internship experience. I also want to talk a little bit more about the international experiences as well and the global perspective. I know that there are a number of different study abroad opportunities for FCAD students, but we also have opportunities where you get to have this international experience without leaving Toronto, which is a great city, and we're right at Yonge and Dundas. So this question is actually for Vilana, because you were a part of the Global Campus Studio, which is a virtual hub for collaborating with students from around the world. What was your experience like?
So my experience with the Global Campus Studio, the course itself was run by Ramona Pringle, and what we did was we got to work with students from London South Bank University and creating a board game surrounding the theme of food security and insecurity. So what was amazing about this entire experience is that they have so many skills and assets that we don't have here at Ryerson, whether it just be because of the cultural differences, but because that they had what we lacked, we could learn from them and vice versa, which is always an amazing thing. And also because a semester is only 12 weeks long, and the goal of the course was at the end of the semester to have a fully functioning board game, it really forces you to heighten your creativity. So you have to be agile, you have to be adaptable, but that always comes with experience. You can't just learn it. You can learn it in theory, but it's always better to get that hands-on experience for that. And because it's so high paced, you're always thinking on your toes. So one week you can have a prototype of your game, but then somebody will say, oh, but this aspect doesn't really work out, or because they are from London, UK, they can say something, oh, wait, culturally, this doesn't make sense in our country. So that forces you to rework the entire thing and pivot into something else. That happened to us. We had to scrap our entire board game mid-semester and create something completely different. And we actually turned it into a card game rather than a board game because it was just a lot more simple to do. But also because of my experience in the Global Campus Studio, my partner and I from Ryerson, living in Toronto as well, we were able to take it and start pitching it to game studios as well. So that was an amazing experience that I had with them.
Excellent. So I know that the Global Campus Studio is a course or a series of courses that are available to all FCAD students. What was your experience like collaborating with students outside of your program, which is Creative Industries?
So Creative Industries itself focus more on the business aspects of art. So working with students from GCM, Procom, Image Arts, it's very different because at least with the students that I worked with, they were very hands-on with their craft, whereas I only knew the theoretical parts of their craft. But through this experience, they were able to teach me a little bit of the hands-on experience as well, and taking me into the Fab Lab every so often so I could see what machinery they were working with. Same with CTL, like I could actually see the 3D printers and robots and all that. And with Creative Industries, we don't get to experience any of that. And that's always amazing to learn something new.
So there's definitely opportunities for you to kind of venture outside of, you know, your program and kind of dabble in certain other areas within FCAD, correct?
Absolutely. FCAD is very interdisciplinary, and there's a lot of overlap between all the programs, but it's just a matter of you as a student wanting to see what you can find anything new and reaching out to those students and making new friends.
Excellent. So on that topic, I know, Samantha, you're a part of the RCDS, which is the Ryerson Communication and Design Society. Tell us a little bit more about that. What is it, and what's your role?
Sure. So the Ryerson Communication and Design Society, or the RCDS for short, is the student society for all undergraduate FCAD students. Even though I was aware of them when I came into first year and second year, I attended their conference that they held. And that just really inspired me to become involved in it because I loved how interdisciplinary it was. And just having the opportunity to meet students from other programs and organize events and initiatives that are geared towards all FCAD students rather than just students from a specific program. So last year, in my third year, I joined on as the Image Arts Director, and then now currently I am the Vice President of Finance. And so the part that I like about the VP Finance role is that I oversee our student project funding grants. So we give away somewhere around $270,000 a year in student project funding grants. And so students can apply for a passion project or an event or an initiative that they're doing and get funding for that so that we can support those. And it's just amazing to see all the creative projects that students come to us with and seeing those get put to fruition with the support that we can offer.
Excellent. So on the topic of extracurriculars, I know we haven't heard a lot from Patrick and Geneva. Do you have any experiences? What are you involved in outside of class?
Outside of class at the school, I've participated in a theater group on campus for 1 year. I actually did it with Katie. That's where we first met. So that was really fun. And that was a great opportunity to meet students in other programs as well as in the School of Performance, because a lot of our contributors were perhaps theater people in high school, but they didn't necessarily decide to pursue it in their undergraduate degrees. What I've also really enjoyed about being at FCAD is the opportunities that are encouraged by our staff and faculty outside of the school. So again, I don't think it can be understated how great FCAD is at supporting community involvement and getting to know the Toronto theater community in my case, and getting to work with the Toronto theater community. So through Ryerson and through my program, I've gotten to volunteer at a couple professional seminars and professional networking events as a student volunteer, but also certainly interacting with and meeting professionals. I've also had the chance to work for Housing and Residence Life, which isn't certainly FCAD, but it's also another way to connect with my community at Ryerson. And certainly in the School of Performance, we're encouraged to be very involved in our creative fields, but also have a life beyond our creative fields and to still be a person and to still develop those really strong relationships elsewhere. And so knowing that I had the support of my program, and even though during busy times, perhaps I was a little less involved elsewhere than I was at Ryerson, I still always knew that I was supported in what I was doing.
Excellent. Geneva?
For me, in first year, I was the media production representative for my cohort. So that was a really great opportunity to kind of be a student voice for my year. I also did a lot of volunteering within FCAD, attended a bunch of events, networked a little bit because I really wanted to get that full university experience and go out and meet people. Currently, I'm the marketing and design assistant for Ryerson Housing. So I fully say thank you to the digital media class in first year because I learned all the skills that I'm using currently for that job from that class. And then I also was recently working on a practicum project. So as most of you probably know, there's the creative practice hours that you need. And so the fourth year projects always need people to help out for their practicums. So I was the photography and videography behind the scenes person for them. So I went to 6 days of set. One of the shot days went until like midnight outside near like the Ryerson like chain school. But it was a really great opportunity to meet upper years and also get to see the equipment that they're using. And it was a great learning opportunity in terms of all the older students would show me all the cool things about lighting that I haven't learned yet, but I'm going to learn soon. So it was a really great opportunity there. My last thing I want to say is, again, with FCAD connections is one of my friends in the fashion area, they do a fashion show every year. And so he actually asked if I wanted to be their marketing lead for that. So I'm helping out with that this year later on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to jump to the last question so that we have some time to answer some Q&A live. So for all of our viewers, if you have a question, please feel free to type it into the Q&A now. My last question for our panelists is, FCAD is all about preparing students to become the next generation of creative leaders and leaders in their fields wherever they go. So from classrooms to labs and internships and opportunities, how have you been empowered to actually lead? So it's not just enough to be creative. How have you used that in leadership roles?
I can jump in if you want. I recently applied with some of the other folks in my cohort to run Maximum Exposure, which is Image Art's year-end show, and we got accepted. So we're really excited to get started planning that. But so for those of you that don't know, Maximum Exposure is the year-end gallery show that happens at Image Arts. It's still unsure, obviously, as of if it's going to be in person. Last year it was online, that it got shifted to online, but it's a way to accept submissions from everybody from year 1 to year 4, and as well it's a good way for students to get connected with their industry. So we'll be doing everything from getting quotes and figuring out how it's going to come together. So there's a lot of moving parts that go along with it, but it gives you the authority to be able to make those kinds of decisions about how this massive exhibition is going to come together. And it's a really great way to show that you've developed those leadership skills going into your post-grad careers.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can jump on as well. I think I have a two-part answer to this question. The first of which is to highlight those soft skills that are taught, definitely in performance production, but I certainly expect across all of the FCAD schools, which are things like group work, collaborative activities, leadership skills, time management, all of those things that seem rather intuitive, or maybe, like everyone does need to have the ability to work in a group, etc. But I think particularly in the creative industries, collaboration is the basis of what we're doing. We're all working together. We're leaders in our own fields, and we're trailblazing through new creation that doesn't exist yet. And so it's a very complicated field to navigate. And I think the hands-on practical lab experiences that certainly performance production has given me have been so beneficial. And then I would also say the encouragement that we receive from FCAD, particularly through funding from the RCDS, is essential. I've been successful with 2 applications for projects. Both were really exciting. They were exploring really new and innovative ideas. We were using new technology in one of them, reworking an old story in the other. And it was really nice to know that there was funding opportunities available to me to pursue not only the curriculum, but also what I'm interested in and what I want to navigate in my own professional field.
Excellent. Anybody else want to chime in terms of leadership? Katie?
Sure, yeah. It's interesting because I feel like this year especially has presented so many unique challenges that we've all had to navigate. But previous to this year, when I introduced myself as a professional communications major, people kind of look at me sideways and go, well, what does that mean? You know, what is communication? I'm sure creative industries gets it. I'm sure new media, you know, in FCAD, people don't fully understand what we do here. But now that we're presented with this unique situation where everything is remote, a lot of digital context, you know, there's a lot of information that needs to be conveyed that people don't really understand what it means. They now are looking at me like, okay, what do we do? It's interesting. They didn't know what I did until this year when they realize now that they really, really need me to do it. So it's interesting because we're now the leaders. Even though we are the younger generation, these older generations are looking to us to craft these emails explaining company policy, to create these social media posts, to let people know what's going on in different organizations. So, you know, obviously no one could anticipate what 2020 had in store for us. I feel like my education in FCAD has prepared me to be this multifaceted communicator, to take on these types of challenges. And now in this instance, to kind of lead the charge in this new digital context. And I feel absolutely confident in doing that. So, you know, you can't ask for anything more valuable than just confidence in what you're doing, even though it may be unfamiliar territory. So in that sense, just having that diverse skill set to rely on is the most powerful, the most empowering quality that I could rely on here.
Excellent. All right, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually jump over to our Q&A from our audience. Before I do want to share the screen with everyone so all of our viewers can see. This is just a list of all of our upcoming sessions. So please go online at ryerson.ca/at-home. And sign up for these info sessions. This is where you'll get to meet some of the faculty members and program administrators to get all of your answers in terms of admissions questions answered. So if we don't get to your question today, there's always opportunities for you to connect with us. Please feel free to take a screenshot or save ryerson.ca/at-home. All right, so jumping over to the Q&A panel. Or Q&A, for media production, were you shy at the beginning with collaborations?
For me, I wasn't necessarily a shy type coming in, but I do have some friends who, when first introduced, they were a little bit more shy. I feel like in terms of like working together in teams, everyone's so open to hearing other voices and trying to collaborate and make sure that our final product has everybody's name on it and everyone actually contributed. So I feel like coming into the environment, no matter where you are in terms of if you're more quiet or reserved or you're a little bit louder, you still are able to participate in this program and have a really amazing time. I've had a lot of friends as well who I've seen grow, even though I'm only in second year, through the year, grow and become even more confident in themselves and in their work and showing others their work.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Geneva. The next question is actually for Vilana. Is there any way you could describe what makes creative industries different from other programs and potential jobs that can come after graduation? Maybe you can also take the time to talk a little bit about the internship component as well.
Absolutely. So in creative industries, we focus a little more on the business aspects of all of the FCAD programs. So we do have modules that you get to choose from a choice of 14. So I decided to focus on storytelling and acting dance. And through that, you learn a little bit of, you do get a little bit of hands-on experience with that, but more so you're learning about how your business education can create an impact and further develop the industries that you want to focus on. So for me personally, I did my internship at Nelvana at the Chorus building. I'm very interested in children's animation, and that's actually what I want to do after, well, I have graduated from university, but that's what I want to do. And through my internship, I was able to create a few pitch decks, learn about the entire process of what makes a television show, and see it happen from beginning to end, which was amazing. I was the brand coordinator for them, so I was able to take a look at all their assets and see how they compile them together and see how they create events for their shows as well. And in terms of job prospects after university, there are a billion to choose from. I have a few friends that are going into magazine editorials. I have a few that want to start their own theater companies. Like I said, I want to go into children's animation, focusing more on the management aspect of it. So Creative Industries is very much a program where you get to create your own journey and figure out your own creative process. And you have professors there that are able to help you. You have a billion resources to help you and guide you throughout your 4 years. Creative Industries is just an amazing program, and I loved every single moment of it.
Excellent. And for those of you interested in creative industries, Alex Darcy is actually on the back end, and she is the internship liaison for the School of Creative Industries. So if you have any questions about different opportunities within internships or even alumni opportunities, please feel free to type it in the Q&A. Another question that I had, this goes back to Geneva. A lot of people are definitely interested in RTA. Since we are able to apply to 3 different programs at Ryerson, what other courses or programs would you suggest for someone interested in media production and really enjoys creative writing alongside marketing and social media? That's a big question.
Okay. So essentially what courses in the program and what other—
or what programs, what alternate programs than media production?
Programs of like other, like sport media, like that kind of thing? Is that what they—
Yeah. Okay. Not only within RTA, but I think this person is just wanting to ask, you know, what are some alternatives if I'm interested in creative writing, marketing, social media?
Okay, so I'll just talk about my process first in picking Ryerson in this particular program. So I ended up applying to, I can't even remember at this point, Western, U of T, all of those types of schools. And I kind of gravitated to this program because no other program is as hands-on as this one. I felt like if you wanted hands-on, like really hands-on, you'd go to Sheridan, but I still wanted to get like this particular degree. And so coming in, when I'd ask people at U of T, for example, what are we doing? They'd be like, oh, the theory of this. And I'm like, but how do I use Adobe? How do I do that? So when I came to Ryerson and I was like, okay, how do I do this? They're like, oh, well, in motion graphics, you're going to learn how to do After Effects, and they really explained everything that we were going to be doing. And that's what I wanted. So I feel like in terms of like the Ryerson community and other programs within Ryerson, I guess it would mainly just be sport media, which is kind of like media production. It's just a lot more niche, obviously, in the sport area. But in I think your case, you said script writing. So there are a lot of script writing courses. I know that there's writing for children's writing. There's dramatic writing. One of my friends did that over the summer. So there's a lot of opportunity for that. And I know one of the professors actually wrote some of Caillou. So there's people who are teaching you who actually have written in industry, and it's a really great opportunity for you to get that. And just going on first year, again, you really learn everything in first year so that you can kind of pick where you want to go. So there is a media writing course that is mandatory for media production students in first year. So everyone kind of got a base, and then they could go further in that area if they chose down the line.
Excellent. I don't have anybody from the film studies program, but I don't know if any of our panelists have any insights. But one question that we have is actually about, can you explain the most prominent difference between media production versus film studies? Okay. So anybody want to try for that? We do have those 2 programs within FCAD.
I kind of understand, I think I can kind of explain. So in film studies, when you go into it, like it's film, like that is what you're doing. Whereas in media production first year, you'll have a writing class, you'll have an audio class, you'll have a single camera class, a multi-camera class. So it's not just film, everything film. So you can graduate from media production being a specialist in audio or a specialist in script writing. But if you're graduating from film studies, it's film studies, like that's what you're doing. So if you're kind of the type of person who's like, I want to do film, that is me, then you go there. But if you're kind of like, oh, I like audio, oh, I like animation, oh, maybe I want to do more than one thing, then you'd come to media production for that.
Excellent. Okay, so I do have a question about the music program. I don't have any students from the music program because it's new, so we don't have any students for the music program. However, for those of you who are interested in the music program, there is an info session, an FCAD live session happening on October 2nd at 11 a.m. Again, look at the screen. It's just right there, highlighted right there. You'll be able to speak to the director of the music program and get insights in terms of what the program is about, how to apply, what the requirements are, and the different courses that are involved in professional music. It's actually a very exciting program. It is one of our first interdisciplinary undergraduate programs. It is a blend between RTA, School of Media, the School of Performance, as well as the creative industries. So it is definitely an exciting program where you get to explore all facets of music and the music industry. So not just production, but live performances as well, entrepreneurship. So you'll be heavily involved in the Music Den at the Creative Innovation Studio, where you get to talk to industry leaders and so forth. So again, please bookmark October 2nd at 11 a.m. for the music program info session. Okay, so I have a couple more questions. Let's see. Oh, now all of the questions are pouring in. When we're almost done. Okay, so this question is for anyone on this panel. Are there semester abroad programs we can do through Ryerson/FCAD? Okay, I see a lot of yeses. Does anybody want to elaborate? I know Vilana did. Oh yeah, go ahead, Sabrina.
So for interior design, you have the opportunity, I think there's like 4 or 5 different universities internationally that offer similar interior design programs that have a very similar accreditation. So opportunities to study abroad include a summer internship in Italy, where you do an intensive that replaces your studio course, which your studio course is like your biggest course, the one where you see a project kind of from like the initial design phase up until you picking all of your finishes. So that's what studio is. So there's a course to replace that you would take in Italy. And then in your 3rd year, you have the opportunity to do a semester abroad in the fall or winter, depending on what the host university decides. Unfortunately for me, my exchange was put on hold given the 2020 experience that we're all having. But yeah, there is like lots of opportunities. I think from my 3rd year program, there would have been 15 or 16 of us that would have gone abroad this coming winter. So the opportunity is there for you guys to go and explore what sort of your industry that you're interested in looks like in a different part of the world.
Excellent. Anybody else?
I can add on a bit. Oh yeah, you can go first.
Oh, okay. I know that for creative industries, I personally did not go on exchange, but I do know that in your 3rd year, in your winter semester, you are able to go on exchange. And there's a ton of different universities and countries to choose from. So you have Australia, the UK, and wherever you go, it'll typically replace one of the courses that you need to take here at Ryerson. But as well as that, there are a few special courses in creative industries that allows you to travel and take an elective course. So I know that there's one that's in Berlin where you're working with the agricultural sector and doing a big project there, and that'll count towards one of your electives.
Cool. So in relation to RTA, I haven't gone on any yet, but I know that one of the big ones is RTA in LA. So you get to go to Los Angeles, and I believe that you pitch an idea to executive members and kind of have this experience where you get to pitch to someone and like have them actually critique your work. But I believe there's probably a bunch more information on the website. I don't want to talk too much about it because I haven't gone, but I plan on applying for that in the future.
Excellent. And any other program-specific kinds of questions and opportunities, again, please feel free to sign up for these sessions. For those of you who are not seeing all of these links or registration links on Ryerson at Home, there is a second listing here at ryerson.ca/FCAD/apply. So those ones are all sessions. If you scroll down after the Google form, you'll actually see all of our info sessions at FCAD, whereas Ryerson at Home is for all of Ryerson, and they only show, you know, the upcoming, whatever's coming up in the next week or so. So if you want the full listing that you see on screen, go to ryerson.ca/FCAD/apply. For people asking about sport media and media production specifically, they are the representatives that are hosting those sessions are going to be talking about all three programs. With performance, there are 3 different programs. They're all separate. So please feel free to sign up for these particular ones. Any other questions? I have one for both Amy and Sabrina. Can someone break down what to expect in the interior design program?
Amy, do you want to go or do you want me to chime in?
Sure, I can jump in here. So I guess coming into first year, the interior design program is kind of broken down into several main streams. So we have, our courses are all IRN, IRT, IRC, and IRP. IRD, yeah. So basically all of those are kind of covering all the bases of what you kind of need to know for interior design. So as Sabrina said, IRN is our main studio course, and IRD, we're learning design dynamics, so a lot of model making. IRC is about communicating through graphics. IRP is about professional internship, and then am I missing one? IRT is about IRT is about construction and learning how things are actually built and assembled. And so in first year you'll be kind of experiencing all those course streams and kind of getting a good groundwork to build into your second, third, and fourth years. And it is quite a lot. And but I think I think, is there anything else that you wanted to add, Sabrina?
Yeah, I can say that if you're interested in interior design, a lot of what we learn is actually very closely linked to the School of Architecture, but that's a completely different faculty. So you'll find that for interior design, we're kind of like this stylo within FCAD, that a lot of what we do, although it's creative, it's very kind of this like, we're in our own lane just because a lot of what we do is related to a program that is not within FCAD. That being said, if you're someone that strives in situations where that you're both type A brain and type B brain, I mean this in the sense of if you're somebody who thrives by being creative but is also extremely organized, interior design is a great opportunity for you to kind of flex both those sides of your brain, because it does require a lot of mental strain. And I think it's very clear to make the distinction now that if you are interested in interior design, it is not interior decorating. I think there's a couple people in my first year who definitely were disappointed after their first year, thinking it was going to be more of a finishes course. In interior design, we do everything from like looking at like floor plans, understanding construction. So there's a lot more technical skills involved and not just finishes. But it is definitely full on, be prepared for it to be intense, but I think it's really rewarding to see your work finished at the end of a semester and like see the project that you spent 4 months kind of like bleeding your whole soul into, and then you get to look at a project and be like, wow, I did that and that's incredible and I learned so much along the way. So challenging but extremely rewarding.
Excellent.
I just want to add on a quick note, kind of just to draw it back to the overall FCAD faculty, is that in interior design, we also get the chance to take a lot of electives, and those electives can come from all the schools within, I think quite a few of them. I've been able to take GCM and RTA courses, and so on top of that, you're kind of also able to get kind of those different creative aspects into your interior design education as well.
Excellent. So I have, I don't know how much more time we have, but Ashlyn, you can jump on if we're running a little bit late. I have one final question. Ashlyn?
You have about 1 minute, but we can go a little late. It's fine.
Okay, I feel like I want to give this question right to Patrick. Could you break down the performance production program in 1 minute? Looking at what to expect in my first year?
Absolutely. So in production, you get educated in several main streams of production. So carpentry or set design, costuming, lighting, sound, and management. And those are all covered in what we call an umbrella course. So you'll spend a couple of weeks each semester doing one or two of those streams. And then you'll also have other courses in producing, in stage management, in scenic design. And so that's what your first semester and second semester will look like, in addition to a practical component where you're assigned to a specific show call and you spend the entire semester working on that show, attending meetings, going to lighting hangs or costume builds or whatever it is that your production manager sends you. And so you're learning both in the classroom and in lab time, as well as practically working alongside your peers to realize one of the acting or dance shows that the acting and dance streams perform in.
Excellent. So that's it for our panel. Thank you so much for everyone participating, all of our student panelists, as well as all of the attendees. Please feel free to connect with us. For those of you who we didn't get to answer your questions, so sorry about that, but we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Ashlyn.
Thanks, Jackie. And actually, I think we actually made it through all of the questions. So congrats to everyone on the back end for all their hard work. Just please note that although we are recording this session and it will be available on our website in October, the Q&A part won't. So if you did receive an answer, please make note of that answer so you don't lose out on it. On behalf of everyone here at Ryerson, I'd like to thank both Jackie and all of our students who have shown us and taught us a lot throughout this past hour. I would like to remind everyone that we are hosting another virtual open house in the coming weeks in November, as listed on the slide. And next week, as Jackie mentioned, FCAD is also hosting a number of sessions that you can check out. On behalf of Ryerson University, thank you once again for joining us today. We hope to see you in future sessions. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.